So we are now recording the April 29th, 2016 Small Business Accounting Advisors. And we are here with Matt Bunston. We will have a Hubdoc demo. So hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, Gina.
How's your week been?
Good.
Good?
Uneventful. I've been on staycation this week.
That's nice. Everybody needs to do that once in a while.
But I do have to say, side note, it took me 3 days to get through my inbox. So that's what I was doing. I am at inbox 0 after 3 days. Yes.
After tax inbox.
Oh, it was
Imagine
horrible.
being 0.
What's that?
I can't imagine having having it 0.
It was 0. It was 0 for literally like 5 minutes, and there's 15 in there now. But it was 0 at one point.
5 minutes of bliss.
I have a screenshot of it.
Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you for joining us today. We're happy to have you and looking forward to hearing about Hubdoc.
Perfect. I guess without further ado, I should get into my little presentation here. I'm already hearing some familiar names and seeing some familiar faces, which is always nice to see. So I'm going to share my screen and let's hop into it. So as Gina mentioned, I am Matt and I'm head of customer success here at Hubdoc. It's really a pleasure to get this opportunity to speak with the small business accounting advisors and demo our product. You're not hearing things. I am from Toronto, Canada, so the accent might be a little foreign, but should be able to get my point across nonetheless. So before we hop into the product demo, I'm going to do a little bit of a presentation on Hubdoc. Hopefully it's exciting. Just feel free once we get into the actual kind of demo portion to stop me and ask questions as you like. But I do know Gina has some good questions for me ready to go. So imagine never asking your client for a document again, having all of that data extracted for you, and having your clients audit proof because all of the documentation is stored in one place. Sounds like a dream, right? That's sort of our vision here at Hubdoc. We want to eliminate these manual tasks so you can focus on providing your clients higher value work. And so a little backstory about Hubdoc. Before starting the company, our founders, coincidentally both named Jamie, ran a business helping university students. And it was actually helping universities find new students. And so they had a bit of a sticky relationship with their bookkeeper. The Jamies were so busy running their business, they kept missing messages from their bookkeeper who was asking for documents that she needed to complete their books. And so as you can imagine, I'm sure you're all imagining your heads right now, common scenario leads to a lot of frustration from both parties. The Jamies figured there had to be a better way, and not only that, but a way to improve this relationship. So in 2011, the idea of Hubdoc was born and they started this company. So when you think about the traditional bookkeeping and accounting process, a familiar sight probably comes to mind. It's those boxes of paper dropped to your doorstep at year end. This makes your jobs incredibly difficult and stressful to complete on time. On top of that, it's tough to determine how much your work's going to cost until it's finished. But now with the power of cloud accounting, this is beginning to change. So cloud-based software has totally changed the face of accounting and bookkeeping. When cloud apps like Hubdoc and QBO, as many of you are probably familiar with, are used together, you get real-time access to financials throughout the year. Instead of these mountains of paper, you get clean, digitized documents that are accessible from anywhere at any time. Our vision is that when you sit down to work on your client's books, you already have everything you need. No more chasing clients for documents, no more data entry. You might not realize it, but upwards of 1/3 of your time is spent collecting and preparing these documents. Using products like Hubdoc largely eliminates the time you use to spend on things like document collection, so you can hopefully transition into more of an advisory role for your clients. Plus, you can provide them with steady, reliable rates for your services, which is really a win for everyone involved. So Hubdoc has a ton of helpful features that I'm going to go over in the product demo. I'm sure many of you have already kind of seen parts of our product, but I'll definitely do a bit of an overview for everyone before getting into some nitty-gritty on some of the questions I'm sure you'll have. But before we do that, I'd like to remind everyone that accountants and bookkeepers get free accounts. So after the presentation, come on over to hubdoc.com, sign up for an account. I will make sure I VIP all of your accounts. That's a free lifetime account for you and all of your colleagues that you can use to really test out the product, just become comfortable with it before you decide to hopefully start adding clients sometime down the road.
So Jamie, Matt, I want to ask about the team members, the firm membership. You said free?
Perfect,
all
yeah.
The team members.
Great question. Yeah, so we don't charge for you or your colleagues. So what's going to happen is when you create this admin account, you can kind of use that for testing, whatever, automating your own firm's documents. Then you're able to add your colleagues as users on that account. And so what that does is allows you the ability to give your colleagues access to certain client accounts. But on top of that, it's also going to create accounts for them. So if they're wanting to actively engage and use Hubdoc to either automate their own document collection or just kind of use it for themselves to become familiar with it, they're more than welcome to have VIP accounts as well. Just shoot us an email saying, hey, Matt, or hey, support team, I'm adding these emails as users to my Hubdoc account. Do you mind VIPing them? We'd be more than happy to do so.
Awesome.
And just a final point here, we've just launched a Hubdoc certification program for both QBO and Xero. So to go to learn.hubdoc.com, do a half an hour course, half an hour to an hour, probably less than that, and you can get certified and get some cool content. So thanks for listening to that little pre-presentation, I guess, without further ado.
One other question, since we're talking about partners and team members.
Yep.
Many times we will go in partnerships with vendors, and they will give us a link to put on our website. Do you do that also?
So what we're going to provide, and when you finish this course, you get sent our partner assets, which gives you a whole bunch of content, logos, value props, etc., that pretty much just promote your cloud savvy, your use of a product like Hubdoc. You can add all this content to your site, value props, logos, etc. In terms of a link to go through it, you can for sure set that up on your website, because it's just we're a cloud-based product, so you can sign into Hubdoc from any browser, anywhere, at any time. So I know that a lot of our users have done that on their own portals because it's super easy to set up. It's just as easy as adding a URL to that Hubdoc image that we provide you.
I have a page on my website that that says my partners, and I usually get a link from the partner that will take them directly to signing up or a free trial or something like that.
And it's a unique URL with, at the end of it, it has the name of our company.
Gotcha. I could definitely kind of speak with some colleagues to explore if we actually provide that. But what I would say is, I mean, I think that I could set that up easily for you. It wouldn't necessarily be a unique URL to your company, just because our sign-up portal is the exact same for everyone who does sign up. But you could do so from your website to make it seem like it was more of one of your offerings from our partner page there.
Yeah, that's easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Perfect. And I mean, on top of all this, what's really is, I have to think, of bread and butter of our company is we really try to deliver on that world-class support. We think that even if you're the best product in the world, if you're not supporting not only your partners, but the users of these accounts and giving them real-time phone support, email support, you're not really doing much well at all. So we do deliver on that support. If think you can ask anyone who uses us. We're really quick to respond. Happy news or bad, we're going to respond and let you know that we are concerned and we are working on whatever issue you may be having. Awesome. So why don't we hop into the product? I'm just going to swing over here into Hubdoc. So as many of you probably know, this is the setup of the Hubdoc Dashboard. Now, this would be one client account. This would be one company's Hubdoc account here. Just to show you the firm-wide view quickly. This would be that partner portal screen. I mean, QBO and lots of other cloud accounting platforms would have a similar screen where you'd log in, determine which client account you want to go into and manage. You can add clients from this screen. Also, you can add your colleagues, as I was mentioning earlier, add them as users, and then determine, okay, which of my clients is that colleague going to be?
You have Krusty the Clown on there.
Yeah, Krusty the Clown. It's funny enough, if you can believe this, I'm Homer Simpson's CPA. So that's how easy Hubdoc is. That's how easy Hubdoc is. And so what we're going to do, we're going to go into my personal demo account, which is Camp Krusty. You can believe that Krusty the Clown runs a camp. Scary thought.
Yes, it is.
but so this account is going to house all of the recurring bills and statements that pertain to Camp Krusty's set of books. The first major value point that I probably went over a ton of times in that brief little intro there is that ability to fetch those documents automatically. So what we've done is built unique connections with over 600 different banks and vendors at this point in time. So we can automate document collection from banks, credit unions, and credit card companies, e-commerce companies like Amazon, PayPal, Stripe, phone and cable providers like Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T, utility companies, investment companies, payroll companies. I know Gina was mentioning there was some interest in those. What we fetch from Run Payroll by ADP, Paychecks, Gusto.
Thank you for that.
IMPay. No problem. I know people love our ability to fetch those because there's so much documentation that you can pull down from those vendors. But I mean, a lot of people think, oh, you're just pulling bank statements. We'd actually pull a heck of a lot more than that.
All I had to do was on the ADP. Hey, on the ADP reports, there were 2 reports that I'm used to looking at, and so I just clicked on and emailed and said, how about this one and this one? And within a couple hours, I had one more.
Right.
And now I'm like waiting for the last one.
Now you're for the last one, exactly. And
completely keep my staff out of even going to run ADP.
Which is perfect. And I know that we are working on something else as well, but very similar to all of our connections. They are these connections that we've built to fetch certain documents, but if there's something that is going to make your life easier and is going to make kind of you working on your client's file easier, we can absolutely make tweaks and adjustments to pull an increased level of documentation for you. At the end of the day, we're really just trying to improve your life and probably improve your client relationships through automation. So we can absolutely do that. Sarah, were you able to get packed in time, or are you all set?
There will be no sleep tonight.
Uh-oh. Oh, gosh, that's how it goes for me all the time.
Yeah, I don't know which is worse, going on vacation or coming back. But
well, at least you have something to look forward to.
Hey, they have Wi-Fi on the plane.
There you go. There you go.
So listen, Matt, and what about Paychecks and Gusto? Do you do those too?
Yeah, exactly. Paychecks and Gusto will pull a very similar level of documentation. I mean, Sarah might be able to correct me, but off the top of my head, payroll journal, liability report, WC report, the summary, and we're working on fetching some other documents. I've gotten really good at remembering what we fetch from each vendor, but we have hundreds.
Memorized them all. Come on, man.
I know, it's pretty wild. But as I was mentioning a little earlier, if you want a kind of up-to-date list of vendors that we currently support, feel free to shoot me a personal email after our chat here. I can put my email
I would love to have some sort of a document, even if you update it on your website, where I could print the master list, give it to a potential client, say, just look at all the different things that we can
yeah, agreed.
bring into one location.
What I do is I update my own list every time we add a new connection.
Mm-hmm.
We're not, as of yet, kind of putting that on our website. It's something that I think we definitely should explore, at least.
Well, you have the right here. It says, I'm pointing. Can you see? All companies A to Z. So that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is. But the difficult thing is we sometimes list connections in order to build them as well. So there are certain connections on there that we're in the process of building, which leads to a little confusion there.
I can see GoDaddy being a little confusing. Is that the bookkeeping service on GoDaddy that you're?
So GoDaddy, I believe, will just pull like the invoices that GoDaddy would invoice you for those domains.
Got it.
And also, like PayPal, what exactly do you pull up? Because there are some reports that don't have all the detail that is needed to.
It gave me everything that I needed except for. There's one report that breaks out all the miscellaneous deductions.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm looking for.
Gotcha. Yeah. So
child support.
Usually you have to go to classic mode to pull up that when I go on to PayPal.
And the interesting thing that we found is, I mean, with PayPal in particular, like depending on the account, I mean, for some personal accounts, they don't provide statements, and for others they do. And it's a little funky that way, but usually kind of transactions, statements, the CSV as well. If that's something that you'd like to pull in. Yeah. And as Sarah was mentioning, I mean, we are open to kind of amending these connections, if it will kind of help you support more clients.
You bet you just said, PayPal, not ADP.
No, PayPal.
Oh, okay, sorry. You were talking as I'm talking.
Sorry.
My brain is like all over.
I have a question. Can you pull a monthly CSV file for Amazon?
Great question. So we do have a number of Amazon connections, and I think we just pull kind of like order details and things like that, transactions. I don't think
I have my Amazon account connected to my Hubdoc, and it gives me, every time I place an order,
right,
it emails me a copy of the order.
Yeah, I get those, but sometimes Amazon is very challenging to reconcile. And I have to go to that particular.
You mean Amazon? You mean more like an Amazon store, like payments?
And
I'm talking about just buying stuff from.
Buying stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, if it's like, if you place an order, you order something, it's done.
No, I have a client that can place 50 orders a month.
Yeah.
It's different departments, different products.
And so Katrina, just to ask you, I think in order for us to pull a CSV, there's certain things that we would need. We would either need, a CSV data to be available, or a statement that we could scrape. And if there's no statement with all of that data on it, it would be difficult for us to kind of compile that into a CSV. I think, for instance, I'll show you here for American Express. So I think I deleted the CSV already, but we would actually scrape the statement and pull that raw CSV data.
Right.
That, I think it'd be difficult for us to actually pull in that raw kind of data.
Okay. Yeah. Normally the orders give me what I need, but occasionally I have to dig into a CSV file to find the detail that I need. Gotcha. But that's okay. I can go on there and manually create the file I need.
And speak a little bit more about these integrations here. I mean, I think that most of our users find the tremendous utility in these kind of banking connections and our ability not only to fetch those monthly statements, but for some banks, which we have enhanced feeds for, kind of the top 20 North American banks, we're also able to pull things like check images, Interact e-transfer details, deposits, CSV files. So it's just about kind of getting you the data you need to do your job without having to kind of chase your client down and track them down to get that information.
But the banks or the facilities need to provide that information for you to get it. Some banks are still on antiquated systems.
Gina's absolutely right. So PDF documents, e-statements have to be enabled, obviously, for us to kind of fetch those from the portal. But oftentimes, when that's enabled, banks will keep up to 12 to 18 months statements, sometimes even more. And Hubdoc's able to go ahead and fetch all that data. So even if you're doing kind of cleanup work for a client, or if you're onboarding a new client, we'll actually fetch data that goes kind of further into the past that should make it.
That's pretty interesting, because most banks only allow you a certain amount of time, some as little as only 3 months, that you could go back and get statements.
Well, Sparta goes back way back.
Mm-hmm.
The big ones go back a couple of years at least.
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll ask for payment for older statements.
True.
There'll be fees that you have to pay if you want a statement that's over a year old or something. With Hubdoc, you just eliminate that. Am I correct?
You're right. And I would say that most of the time our robots are built to, if there is a notification that pops up saying you're going to get charged for looking at these documents, it's going to say, okay, we're going to stop looking at documents because we're not going to want to incur anyone extra charges whatsoever. But certainly, I've actually heard this in a lot of cases in terms of the check image gathering. Some banks charge based on viewing checks, and we've actually been able to bypass that, because oftentimes we'll pull the check images from the bottom of the statements or different things like that. So we're actually able to kind of get around a lot of these pesky charges that some of these banks seem to want to.
And some banks just won't give them to you, like SunTrust. That's a major bank. I mean, that's not like, little town USA bank. It's a regional.
I mean, we found the similar thing with the Interact e-transfers. I mean, some banks, for whatever reason, they don't want to make that documentation available to you on their portals, and it is bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
So, speak kind of my last little piece about these connections here. We have about 600 at this point in time. We are always trying to add new ones each and every week. As you can imagine, we have a pretty long queue right now, but I'm pretty good about kind of prioritizing them and determining kind of what's going to be built in the next week or so. And once we do go ahead and build one, it really doesn't take us super long if it is an easier connection. I know some connections give us a little more problems than others do. So the other part of our product is hopefully going to catch all of those vendors that kind of or never be paperless, maybe, or not for the time being at least. So for those invoices that your client might get from a contractor or a restaurant receipts, your clients can still get those documents into Hubdoc in a variety of ways. They can browse their computer, upload those documents directly. They can use the Hubdoc app and snap pictures of those receipts.
I love that feature. That is something my clients can do and do not need to be computer savvy to do.
Right, and we're actually, I'm kind of pleased to announce that we're finally refurbishing our application. I think it's been a bit of a long time coming, but we're currently kind of finishing off build out of our new app. So we're pretty excited for that to come in the next couple of months. And finally, it's that ability to email in documents. I know that a ton of vendors, I mean, when I go see live music all the time, and my receipts come in the body of an email almost every time, and I just forward those on it into Hubdoc. They're going to come into Hubdoc, and then Hubdoc's going to extract the data from those documents.
Matt, can you speak to how the app is going to change?
Yeah, so I guess the functionality of it won't change. It's still going to be used for snapping pictures of those receipts, I think it's just going to be much more user-friendly. Right now, unfortunately, you go into it and you have to click, I think, twice in order to get to that camera. There's no reason for that. You should open right on to a camera, ready to take pictures right away for obvious reasons. We're also going to support the toggling between accounts. So let's say your client has multiple businesses and things like that, or maybe you had a client that is happy with you using Hubdoc for them, but maybe is just kind of not willing or not savvy enough to kind of use the app or what have you. You can actually toggle from your company in the app down to their company and snap pictures of those documents for them. So kind of little things like that we think is going to really improve the user experience, just make it a much more kind of cleaner mobile application.
Nice.
So if they just randomly just take a picture of something and up it goes to Hubdoc, is there an inbox, or you're right now you're just looking at all documents, but yeah, where does it go when it just receives this, random?
Good question. So whether I emailed it in, snapped a picture, or as you'll see me do now, I'm going to just manually upload a document. And I can actually just drag it and drop it into that middle tab there. Okay. And so once it gets uploaded, it comes into this processing tab. And so this processing tab is a reminder for me that the document's here, but the data extraction is not instantaneous. It's going to take Hubdoc a little bit of time to extract some key data from this document. Usually takes us no more than a few hours, sort of our guarantee, 12 to 24 hours. We're going to pull out the vendor, date, and amount from that invoice or receipt. As soon as we do so, it's going to head from processing over here to the review tab. Now, as you can see, I have another one of these Denton's invoices waiting here in the review tab for me. Magic. We also have a Comcast bill, PayPal transaction. I have an Uber receipt, as well as a Chipotle receipt down there. And so once in the review tab, as we can see when we pop open this edit data bar here, that we've actually pulled out some key data from this document for you. If you were in a time crunch, you could absolutely go ahead and extract that information yourself. But obviously it's part of our service, so you can let us do it for you. If you wanted to make any changes, you could do so here. After which you can actually scroll down, and this is where the kind of downstream integrations come into play. So if you're using an accounting platform like a Xero or a QuickBooks Online in this case, we can automate your creation of expense transactions. So what we can do is create a bill or an expense within your expense transactions of QBO. And what we're going to do is code that based on your specifications here. So we're going to pull in the chart of accounts from that QBO file. We're going to pull in the vendor list, things like cracking classes and departments. And so you're telling us how you want that entry created. And what we're going to do as soon as I publish this, I'll just swing over here into QBO, is we're going to create that transaction. Let me move this out of the way for a second. We're going to create these transactions and automatically attach the source document as well. So not only have I created this Comcast bill over here in QuickBooks Online, coding it with the correct vendor, date, and amount, we've selected from my correct chart of accounts. In my opinion, the real kind of secret sauce, we're attaching that source document. So we're audit proofing your clients in a way by creating a copy of those source documents and attaching them to every transaction in QuickBooks Online.
Now I have two copies. I have a filing system with Hubdoc, and I have a filing system with QBO that the accountant or the auditor can see.
Absolutely right. And I think that as many of you will know who kind of QBO users, once I've pushed over these expense transactions here, they're going to immediately say, okay, I want to try to find a match. There needs to be a bank feed somewhere that matches this transaction that I pushed over. And so if I swing over here to my bank feed, we can see a number of these transactions that I pushed over that have found matches. And if we click in and open some of these, we'll see that that's the actual transaction that Hubdoc has pushed over. It's gone ahead and automatically matched. So all I have to do is click match to match off that transaction, and kind of it be more of an ongoing reconciliation, more so than maybe a kind of month or period end.
I have a question.
Yep.
So in follow-up to the, when you were back in Hubdoc, can you flip back over to Hubdoc for a minute?
No problem.
So when you were in here and you filled out all that information for the Dentons and said you wanted to publish that to QBO, the next month when you bring in a Denton's receipt, is it automatically going to publish it, or do you have to fill out all that information every time?
That's a great question. So what you can do is we're going to save this configuration. So Denton's going to be coded the same way each and every time. So once you save that configuration, the next time we extract the document from Denton's, we're going to keep that configuration for it. So don't need to select that again. And if you wanted to, you could take that a step further. So you could use this auto sync configuration here to say, you know what, I trust that Hubdoc's extracting this well, and they're going to push it over to QBO. I'll use that auto sync, which will automatically publish it without you having to do anything.
That's awesome.
Manual. And the exact same thing can be done for those automated. So
that becomes dependent more so on how Hubdoc interprets that specific PDF and how it's bringing in the info. So
you're absolutely right. And I would say that for the manual vendors, I mean, as much as we'd love it to be 100% accuracy, they're not going to be as good as these kind of automated accounts.
Yeah.
Here. I mean,
I'm thinking more so like, say I go to Panera Bread and I snap a picture of Panera Bread that I just send over to Hubdoc, and I'm hoping that the clarity of the receipt, Hubdoc would notice that it's Panera's and it's $19 on this day, that I could just say, send it over as an expense that was paid out of my credit card automatically and just not even have to think about it.
Gotcha. And what I would say is if we've, let's say, extracted the vendor improperly or in some way couldn't read it, as soon as you up here said, you know what, I can read this, I'm going to choose Denton's as my vendor, that configuration for QBO will be saved and will show up automatically. So I think
would it stay inside of processing if it couldn't read it then? If it was waiting for it to publish and process, would it stay in review or processing?
Yeah, it's a good question. And our logic right now is if we have been able to not read it in any way, it's going to show up in this failed tab.
Okay.
And then once there, you can just fill out that information and then manually publish it over. What I'm, I guess, pushing our product guys for is to say that I'd rather have a separate inbox, and what this would have in it would be first and foremost would allow you to have another place to maybe you want to use Hubdoc to store documents that aren't invoices and receipts. Maybe you want other documents you need to get from your clients that you can kind of go ahead and file yourself. So that's one use case. The other would be, I want to upload a document that's 10 pages long that has 10 separate invoices and receipts in it. Right now, we're not handling that right now. But what I want to do is for that document to go into this inbox where you can go ahead and say, separate, create a bunch of documents for that. And then they either go into the extraction or you can kind of manually do that yourself.
I have a question.
Yep.
So it appears to me that, like with example with say like Xero, this integration in Xero, it would replace the manual coding of the check when you do the bank rec, and it would also replace the rules that you might have set up.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So with Xero, obviously it's a little bit of a different integration, but it's very similar in that we're automating your creation of transaction, whether it's kind of pushing it over as a purchase, kind of draft bill, spend money, expense, you're pushing it over as kind of someone from your team or someone from your colleague's team, or an invoice AR there. And it is just about automating the creation of those transactions, attaching source documents to those same transactions, very similar. But whatever rules you've set up, let's say, for instance, based on that account code, for instance, it's still going to keep that rule. It's not like we're doing something differently. Xero is going to remember that rule and apply it to that transaction once it arrives there.
So it would basically override the Xero rules?
No, so I mean, it wouldn't. It's just saying that you're making these selections from Hubdoc, and if there is another rule that you don't see a configuration for here, tied to that account code, it will apply to that once it gets over into Xero. Xero will apply it to that transaction.
Okay.
I think
Xero rules.
Yeah, I think what I like about Hubdoc is, and what I've noticed in my implementation of using it with my clients, is that, especially with QuickBooks Online, because I don't really use Xero, but I use QuickBooks Online. And in order for the bank feeds to work successfully with matching and everything, you have to get your clients to be proactive in their accounting. And that's what Hubdoc does, is it proactively sends the transaction into QuickBooks and have it processed with the attachment already there so that the bank feed can come in and find it and match it up. And I think this is, in just implementing this on the couple of clients that I've onboarded since February, it's really helped with those type of matching issues because the stuff wasn't entered into the software ahead of time. So I'm trying to teach my clients this proactive accounting, and this is the step it's easily sending things into QuickBooks without us having to do too much effort, I guess.
Did it set up a Denton's folder, a vendor folder? What did it do with that?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. So when you manually upload a document, we're going to file it based on vendor name that first time. So we're going to create a folder underneath uploads called Denton's and put that document in there. But what I've gone ahead...
I don't see one. That's why I was like...
Yeah, no, it's a great question. But what I've gone ahead and done after the fact is say, you know what, I'd actually rather my Denton's invoices go into a different folder. So I'm going to come here and I say, I want them to go into a law folder. So I've edited that document location. I've created a law folder. I've selected that so that all future Denton's invoices, are going to come now into that law folder. So you can easily use document location and kind of drag and drop documents into different folders.
So I'd hate to have 300 folders until you all come up with a way to collapse and hide subfolders.
For sure, we hear you.
So
the people who are OCD freak over it.
We hear you. I think that, the awesome thing about Hubdoc is in the grand scheme of things, we are very young. As powerful as we are, we're always trying to listen to our users and kind of...
I'm tired of hearing about this one.
You know what, I'm not...
Hey, Matt, when are you gonna...
Because I'm talking to my product guys and my developers and saying, guys, the people have spoken.
Because you're on the front lines and they're on the back code.
I know.
But you do integrate with Dropbox. I mean, if you already have a system set up, you can do that and you can send those folders or those bills automatically to where you want them to go.
Right, and you're absolutely right about that. So what we can do with Dropbox is we can either mimic this folder structure that you've created in Hubdoc or that we have it automatically created for you and put that folder structure within a folder in Dropbox. Or you can just say, you know what, put all these documents into one Hubdoc folder and I'm going to manage it over there. I already have a workflow and I'm fine with managing it there. So you can go ahead and do that. And just to kind of speak a little bit more to what Gina was saying about our Dropbox integration, it's that ability to automatically create copies of anything that we've not only fetched or your clients have uploaded in Dropbox. If you already have a good workflow set up with Dropbox and any these other kind of downstream cloud integrations, kind of Google Drive, share file, Box, etc.
Microsoft, what's that one called? OneDrive?
OneDrive.
We don't integrate with OneDrive as of yet, but I've heard it be requested before.
Well, that's because Microsoft is a real pain.
Is this stored on Hubdoc's system? Is that where these files are going to be stored on Hubdoc?
Yeah, so basically for our cloud storage needs, we use Amazon Web Services. So they're stored within our system for as long as you wanted. Past the time, okay, let's say I'm losing a client, they're closing up shop, don't want to use Hubdoc anymore. Briefly, let's say you aren't using a downstream storage integration. If you were, all your documents would be there already. But if you weren't, just click here, download all files. We would automatically download a zip of all your files, all your folders here. You can download to your local computer here, and then as much as we don't want you to leave, profile, delete account, and that kind of blows it up, wipes all the docs.
That is, I still can't believe how many of these little programs that are working with data, you say, well, how do I get my data if a year, 3 years from now? And they go, well, you have to click on each record. I'm like, no, that's very comforting. That's very comforting.
I have a question. It's kind of hazy to me is how the documents are matched to the transaction. Do the documents get uploaded by when you take the pictures? I mean, how do the documents get there in the first place?
Yeah, it's a great question. So all the matching actually takes place in QuickBooks Online. So what we're doing is we're going to go ahead and create these expense transactions. So we'll create that bill or that purchase expense over here in QBO. And then once over here, QBO is going to start saying, wait a second, there are transactions on this bank feed that match that vendor date and amount perfectly. They literally match it up absolutely perfectly with these transactions that Hubdoc has created. So we come over here and we see that you're right, I do have this Uber transaction on the bank feed. If I click to open that, we can actually see the expense that Hubdoc has pushed over, and it's gone ahead and matched up with that bank feed perfectly.
Okay, but the document itself, is that something that gets manually uploaded to Hubdoc? I mean, when you create the transaction, I mean, like, for example, you take a picture and it goes up to Hubdoc, but if you are paying an invoice, how does that get up to Hubdoc?
So similar process, right? So whichever way the document gets here, whether you manually upload it, whether you email that invoice in, where you snap a picture of that invoice, we're going to extract data from that. Or if it's an invoice that we fetch from an automated account, we pull it in, we extract data from that. We then allow you to code that for your accounting platform as you like. When
So
we push that over,
those are your rules, so to speak.
Yes.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely right. And you can save those rule configurations based on vendor. And then what we do is when we create that transaction, we not only create it, but we attach that source document. So you can be sure and just double check anything over in the accounting platform if you wanted.
But it's up to you to make sure the source document's there to begin with.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
garbage in, garbage out, Dennis. Come on.
Yeah. I could, I mean, right?
Matt, I have a question for you.
Yep.
I see that you work with Bill.com. What if someone has Bill.com and QuickBooks Online? What is the process?
Great question. Great workflow oriented.
Sarah.
And I swear to God, I'm not going to punt you. I'm just going to say this before I get into it. One of the founders here did a workflow webinar, QBO, Bill.com, Hubdoc, on Wednesday. So I'd be happy to send you that webinar.
Absolutely. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that, and I would post it in our group also.
Perfect. So it's an interesting question and something we get asked a lot. And I can just go over some of the workflows and I guess some of the limitations involved. So if you have this never-ending cycle and they're all connected, obviously both Bill.com and Hubdoc have the ability to create these transactions in QBO, right? They both have the ability to push that over. So you do need to obviously not push dupes over if you have this never-ending connection, if that makes sense to everyone. What we've seen works the best is if you want source documents attached in both Bill.com and QBO, you want Hubdoc making those transactions, because Bill.com will not attach any source documents within QuickBooks Online. And that's what is part of our kind of one of our major value points is when we push over to Bill.com here, we're going to create this draft bill. I'll just show you here.
Yeah, because you can only do bills up in Bill.com. You can't go both ways.
So instead of sending it to the inbox and creating the bill, we'll actually create that for you, let you code it from Hubdoc, attach this source document.
Okay, hold on. When you send a bill to Bill.com, it's going to populate all that in Bill.com and be ready for approval or ready to be finished or ready?
Yep, it's going to whichever approval process you have created with that client for that vendor. So it's going to come in here.
Vendor, or does it go?
it's just you actually select from the vendors in Bill.com. So I'll just show you here. Very similar. You're gonna choose your vendor account, choose from your chart of account here, locations, departments, things like that. You're able to actually automate the creation of that draft bill. And in terms of with QBO, so the great thing Bill.com does is it marks that transaction as paid in QBO once it's been paid. So that's an awesome thing. The one thing they don't do well is they don't attach source documents to that transaction. So this is why it's a bit of a workflow-oriented question, and it's something that a lot of people have kind of figured out their own best practices for. Some people just send their payables, so something they're paying through to Bill.com, on Hubdoc, Bill.com, QBO, and don't send Hubdoc directly to QBO, because obviously there would be a duplicate created.
Mm-hmm. And it misses the authorization, which is one of the biggest reasons we use Bill.com.
Right. The other would be having Hubdoc create both those transactions. Snipping the connection is, so to speak, within QBO and Bill.com. Issue there is obviously you'd have to manually keep track that's been paid.
I don't think Bill.com will let you do that.
Right. So that kind of leads to other issues. And I think in a perfect world, QBO would see these are duplicate expense transactions and combine them. And that's
I'll have to get married.
That's kind of the hope there. But what I would say is that I'm happy to send over that kind of workflow webinar, because that should lighten a little more. I'm not sure my explanation was up to par.
Well, it's a complicated situation that's only going to be happening more and more in the cloud world. A lot of people are going to be using more than one solution for the same thing, and they have to work together. And even now, with just Bill.com and QBO, you have to use a certain workflow to make it work properly.
And you're absolutely right. It's something that even internally, we contact Bill.com and QBO, and our developers are in contact with them saying, guys, like, we'd really appreciate it if you made this available in your API. We need to build on this, et cetera. So, I mean, it's all aimed at kind of making your lives easier, right? And the kind of end user's experience kind of benefiting that.
Do you have a Bill.com demo account that you can show how it lands? Does it just go into the inbox, or it actually starts to build the bill?
We actually automate the creation of that draft bill. So instead of going to the inbox and you having to create it, we let you code it from Hubdoc, and we actually create that draft bill, and it goes right into whichever approval process you and your clients have created.
If it's a brand new bill, I was just thinking if we've never had this bill before, it doesn't know who the approver is. It doesn't. Yeah. Those have to be in some sort of quasi.
So I think it would still go and sit in that draft bill inbox and wait for you to kind of set up that approver. But I could still create a new vendor here, which would actually create that vendor.
From while you're in Hubdoc, you can send a new vendor, set up a new vendor to Bill.com.
Yeah, we can do that in Bill.com, QBO, or Xero. We actually create these new vendors. You'd, of course, have to go ahead in Bill.com and set up that vendor and kind of create those specifications, but you can absolutely create that from Hubdoc itself.
That's awesome.
And this is all online. This is all the SaaS products. You're not dealing with desktop in any way.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I mean, it's a bit of a pain point. Intuit closed their API for third-party access to QuickBooks Desktop in the spring of 2014. So I guess two years ago now. So as much as we'd love to integrate with QBD, we unfortunately can't.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So is there anything coming down the pike that you can sneak and tell us? Or?
Coming down the pike. Okay. I think that multi-line, multi-account splitting.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah.
That's coming. It's coming. I think that's probably something that I want to push for sooner than later. Like there's a lot of workflow implementations that I think we can improve on, but at the end of the day, if we can eliminate the touches you make in your downstream platform, I think that most people will be kind of most pleased with that addition. So that's coming. Absolutely. That's on our roadmap. I think one of the Jamies, the kind of one I deal with the most, asked me if people would rather being able to split out mass documents or the multi-account code. And I just said, both are super valuable. The mass documents are super valuable. And I think that we need to implement that sooner than later. But if you're not getting it right in QBO, what's the point of our product, right? If we're not kind of being that one-stop shop to configure from Hubdoc, we need to nail that. So
absolutely. I can think of one instance, which would be loans, where you're using principal and interest every time.
Right. And the net is not the net may be the same, but the breakout is different every time.
Right.
So we just need an opportunity to tweak it.
Matt, how about instead of scrolling for a vendor or a chart of account, that you could start typing in the box?
That's another item that I hear daily. Absolutely right. I think that anytime we can eliminate a click or a scroll, what have you, it's something that we need to work on, right? It's a pain when you're having to do it again and again and again.
Yes.
That's another item
That's all coding.
It's kind of a no-brainer, and it's something that we just need to get to it, basically. So we definitely.
You're growing quickly.
We are. It's exciting times here, and I mean, we're excited about it, and we're excited that I think that it would be a bad thing if no one was giving us this feedback saying, you got to improve this, got to improve that, right? It would be, no one would be using us and no one would really be engaging.
Not with this group.
So question for y'all, is anyone going to be at scaling?
No.
No one's at scaling?
Count text.
Hoping to meet some of you. Okay, well, I'm sure we'll be running into each other at a conference at some point in time.
We'll see you on the web.
There you go.
And in emails. Oh, we've got your name now, buddy.
So did we give you a chance to go through your demo? I mean,
yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, there's.
I have one simple question. Is there a storage limitation on this?
No, there's no storage limitation. What I would say, and just to kind of be frank with you, I think that we're going to need to go to a model that's based on kind of how many documents an account gets uploaded to it per month. Right now, with our kind of fixed month pricing, I think that really high volume accounts, it's really putting not only a strain on our system, but we're probably losing some money on it. But in terms of overall storage, no. Document storage, don't let anyone tell you anything else. They're small files, doesn't cost very much.
Okay.
Do I understand correctly that once it builds a folder and it has that internal link, that we can rename that folder and it doesn't lose its little link, right? Yes,
so you can rename the folder, but make sure you do so after that whole first fetch is done. Because when that first fetch is still going, we'll probably still be creating that other folder. But not only can you absolutely change that folder name, but as I showed you at a document level, you could say, you know what, I want these to go into a different folder than a Comcast folder. Maybe they'll go into my TV folder, for instance.
And then once you set it up, it's always like that. So if you have another system that you're currently using, then it just stays there until you tell it otherwise.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I'm sure there's 1,000 different kind of workflows and folder orientations that you guys can.
What's nice is you can pattern it after what you're used to.
Currently using, yeah. Matt, can I ask you to go off screen share so we can see everyone that's here?
For sure.
And we'll continue our conversation. Sorry about that. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't do bookkeeping per se, but I do taxes. It would seem to be really useful to have this information around tax time, especially getting like 1099-Bs and that kind of stuff from clients. Is it something I could use like periodically during the year, or does it require a monthly type of commitment?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it is a monthly subscription-based product that we fetch documents for and kind of do this stuff more on an ongoing basis. It's a great question, and I would say that we're still kind of trying to figure out what we really are, and so to speak, and where we can go. And I think that there is tremendous utility in that. But I would say it's even something you could promote to your clients to say, hey, are you kind of struggling with all this paper? Do you want to kind of eliminate a little bit of your reliance on that? Like when tax time comes, I'm not going to be chasing you for these documents. And maybe it's something that they can engage in themselves. And I've heard from a lot of small businesses, they say like, this is saving me from hiring someone to do all this kind of.
I could see it if on like a monthly basis, if you're doing like tax planning, it'd be really nice to have that kind of information available.
Or you could do Joanne's method.
What's that?
What's that?
Hit the clients.
Just fire all your clients.
Smack them around.
Charge an extra if they can't get it to you monthly.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're going to pay a lot more from me than Hubdoc, $20 a month. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my biggest pain point is debit cards. I hate this thing.
Oh, I love them.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't have any clients in QBO, but I'm trying to find that if I'm going to be in desktop for a while, the apps that are out there that will bring in these debit cards and give me a chance to attach, So
I don't think you're going to get that. I don't think we're going to improve desktop that way. I think you're going to.
I'm not
trying to attach.
You're
trying to attach a document to it. What do you try? I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to get inside a desktop with the debit card stuff.
Do you want people to take a picture and send you the debit card receipt?
Well, I just need, so if Hubdoc, if they just use your debit card and they take a picture of the receipt and they send it to Hubdoc, Hubdoc's bringing in bank statements on a monthly basis. They're bringing in checks, but if there could be that debit card matching of a receipt and a.
Yeah,
you're living in a fantasy world.
With Hubdoc, you can get the picture of the receipt.
Right. But it's the matching, and then
you can do it manually, but I don't see how you would get it.
And then, so Sarah, you're speaking of like internal matching in Hubdoc itself.
But why do you need it matched? I guess is what I'm trying to figure out.
All right. I have one company. Oh my gosh, the debit cards. I can't find the receipts. So I get this statement at the end of the month, and here's all the debit cards,
and you have no idea what they are.
And I'm like, okay, I got that one. I didn't get this one. I got that one. I didn't get this one. And so.
And are they hard to find out, like what the company is, or do you just throw it back to them and say, "Let me know"?
Well, now we're into this tug and begging, and we're So
what I do is I put them all to ask the client, and I put them all as unknown, and I say, you need to tell me what the heck you bought.
The thing is, month after month, that account gets bigger and bigger. That's what I'm saying. I know that you take a picture. The scanning software is extracting the name and the amount and all that, and there is an opportunity to code it.
I think you had better luck with moving these people to. No, I think you'd have better luck moving that particular client to QBO and letting Hubdoc take that picture. And the first time you code it, it's fine. And if they take a good picture the next time, odds are you can put it on auto sync and it'll auto post it.
So that's what I'm in that. Then I'm in that vicious circle with the job costing the nonprofits and.
I don't know.
Can they use Bill.com?
Can't they just send you can't they just take a picture of it and send it to you?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe just say, look, darn it.
You know what? Can you quadruple your rates and then get them to send you the pictures, and then maybe they will.
Yeah, they keep paying me. They're happy paying me.
You know what? They need to pay you more because
I don't care about the money. I'm just the pain. If I could just So that's one of the reasons I wanted to look at the app and say, okay, guy, let's try the app and just send it into Hubdoc. Let me deal with it. At least it's in one place so that when we're coding, because we can import the debit charges from the bank, the debit card, and then at least we have two monitors.
Exactly. At least you have something. And if you can get the pictures right away.
Right.
And then sort them, file them how you need to do that.
Mm-hmm. And before the days of Hubdoc, what I used to do is I used to just, not to, say anything bad about what happened before Hubdoc, but I used to stamp a picture and put it to Evernote. And Evernote would do the OCR with it, and then you could just...
Right. We've tried Dropbox. We've tried Evernote.
Yeah, well, Dropbox is different than Evernote. Evernote will actually... you can search it by the optical...
OCR it.
The OCR it, and then you can start typing in the name of the vendor based upon and you'll be able to find it.
It's keeping up with the missing ones.
I know.
That is the real hack.
I don't. Like I said, I just put it to ask, and I let them deal with it.
Can you have them have Hubdoc attached to Bill.com and then sync the Bill.com to desktop?
That's a lot of money to go around the block.
Well, either they pay you or they pay Bill.com.
Yeah. So Bill.com would make, but see, then Bill.com puts in a bill.
See, and
this has nothing to do with accounts payable.
And if you had a solution, you would have nothing to complain about.
I know.
Joanne, you're something.
I want it.
Okay, Matt, I want it.
We need an integration with desktop. We're sorry, Matt. We're just telling you that now.
Don't waste your money.
I wish I could provide.
Don't waste your money. You've got enough to do to get it right.
Yeah, I'll be happy with it split.
Yeah. No.
But I do think Bill.com would work for them. I mean, if you had Hubdoc, pull in the
but debit cards aren't bills. I don't want that going through accounts payable.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as a canceled check. Anyway.
But at least
tell them to carry cash with them and don't have to worry about it. Just say pay.
No, I want them all to get a corporate credit card and stop all this, debit stuff.
Oh yeah, well, get them hooked on one of those. Get them hooked on one of those mileage point cards, and they can save all this money by putting it on credit.
And then get them to dump their hodunk little banks.
Yeah.
Get on something like, I know the fees are more. Bank of America loves Hubdoc.
Yeah.
I love Bank of America in Hubdoc. I get everything. Yeah. I get deposits.
You get more stuff than you ever want.
Yeah. But it's great.
Yeah, no, I love Bank of America on Hubdoc.
Bank of America rocks when it comes to the online.
So that's the bank to recommend your clients?
Yeah, if you want pictures of deposits and checks.
Yep.
You get everything but the debit transactions.
Wells Fargo does the same.
Wells Fargo does not give the deposits.
Yeah, it does.
Uh-oh.
All the images on the deposits?
I have Wells Fargo. I've been banking with them for over 25 years.
And Hubdoc?
Well, I don't know in Hubdoc, but
that's what we're asking.
It's giving, the bank has to give Hubdoc the API to get the images, and I think they're going into getting the checks, but I haven't seen any deposits.
That's the problem.
SunTrust doesn't do jack. I get a statement. Thank you.
What about Chase, Matt? Does Chase do deposits? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe so. And as far as I knew, I thought Wells Fargo did that as well. But what I would just double check is we need there to be kind of PDF documents of these deposits available on the portal. And I mean, surprisingly, even if they might kind of have a deposit section, if it's not actually a document, we can't necessarily pull in that data. But I think Chase would be one of those that would be another one of our enhanced feeds that fetches a ton of documentation.
I'd hope so. I gotta find that out because I got a bunch of people that I'm going to be onboarding to QBO, and I want them to do Hubdoc. And I know Chase works really well with QBO, and if it would be even better if I could get the deposit statements for them because they're a lot of them are bloggers, and so they get a lot of checks from all different kinds of sponsored posts and stuff. So it's great to have the check copy because they never keep it or forget to make a copy of it. Or
Gotcha.
I'll give you a secret.
Yeah, and that's what I love Hubdoc for, is especially like with these bloggers that I do with PayPal, because the information that you get from a PayPal transaction, whenever they've invoiced somebody and they've paid them through PayPal, it gives me all the detailed information, like this is to pay this invoice, and it gives you all that stuff like right inside of Hubdoc, and I don't even have to ask. I hardly have to,
as soon as it happens too, it's like
literally like as soon as the transaction happens, it comes into the Hubdoc.
Well, I'll tell you what I've been doing. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this, but we get a free account for our own company so that we can learn it and everything. So if you don't have a Chase account, but you're working with a client who has a login, you can put it in your own company.
Yeah, that's illegal. You shouldn't be doing that.
And pull it in. See how it works.
Matt, kick her
Can you
off.
bring it in? Why can't you? What's illegal about it?
Because it's not your login.
Yeah. So
You're talking about clients that let you use their login?
Yeah. Because the client should be paying for that.
Because no accountant ever uses a
Start charging her, Matt. Hear that?
I hear.
$20. You got
No, it's a difficult question. It's something that on a small scale, it's not the end of the world, and we get it. We give
I'm
you.
talking about pulling it in, see how it works. And
No, we get it. See how it works, and we hear that. I guess.
Well, do you have a free? Well, here's a question: do you have a free trial, like a 30-day or a 2-week? Try it out.
So what's an interesting thing about like we do offer, when you create an account exclusively, it's a 14-day trial, but the way our billing cycle works is when you pay for your clients, you get upwards of a month. So if you're just smart about when you add the client, so let's say your bill date is today, after you get charged, you can actually add as many clients as you want, and you only get charged on the 29th day of the next month. So on May 20th. Yeah.
So
it's kind of like a free month.
So what's the difference between, this was my last question, what's the difference between you paying for it or the client just signing up and adding you as an accountant?
Yep. So that's just
how you prefer to roll it into the bill or something?
Yeah, rolling the bill and the pricing. And so we give you like partner pricing discounts when you pay for the accounts, because
okay,
ranked under your billing.
Gotcha.
But when the client pays, it's just going to stay at that $20 per month.
I think that's what I did for mine. Is I think I just sent them the link and said sign up, and then add me as the accountant.
Yeah, and what you could do, it's fairly simple to kind of transfer billing if you wanted to do that at some point in time. If the client kind of wanted to pay or you wanted to pay, whatever.
Cool.
And Larry was asking, what level of security does Hubdoc have?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we do have the same level of security that all these banks, the online portals have. So if your clients feel comfortable online banking, they should feel more than comfortable using Hubdoc. At the end of the day, all we're doing is going in and grabbing read-only PDF statements and documents. We have no ability to do anything else within the account whatsoever. On top of that, all kind of passwords and logins are encrypted and stored on maximum security servers.
So you don't have any engineer at your office who could see the password? Because that's what I almost had a client leave Hubdoc because their banker found out they went, we don't know what this Hubdoc is, and you realize they have your login and emergency phone.
And that's the thing. I can't see them. No one has access to them whatsoever. Encrypted right away, stored on separate maximum security servers. And really, like, what I heard a great quote the other day, and it was do I trust my local servers to kind of protect this information, or do I trust a company who's kind of solely focused on that? And if we were to have some kind of major breach, we couldn't have a business anymore.
I have a question. When you set up the link between, like, say, Key Bank, for example, is where I bank, and when I set up my link for Xero, I had to go in and authorize a third-party application in Key Bank to allow Xero to access it. Would the client have to go to each particular bank and make that kind of authorization of each particular?
No, in most cases, no. in most cases, we'll prompt for any two-factor authentication or verification codes within our product ourselves. And once you kind of go through all the security steps that bank requires you to log in, our IP address, our login will be trusted going forward as a trusted place. It's going to pull this information and log into that account.
Well, am I logging in through your account and then does it transfer me over to like the other?
No, everything is prompted within Hubdoc itself. As you can imagine, if we're going to be checking for documents and fetching these documents, we're going to need to kind of house that information within
okay. For example, say key account, I would log into Hubdoc and then I would do my keyword login and password, and then so that'd be the connection with KeyBank.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then if you had any kind of 2FA or personal verification questions set up, we've kind of built these connections to prompt you for those questions inside Hubdoc.
And Dennis, you're only doing that login one time as opposed to monthly, which is huge.
Well, I'm thinking that since it's after tax season, maybe setting up my PayPal account to pull in the feeds and also my bank account.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, what I suggest is kind of create the account. You get a free account, just kind of see the value that it can bring, right? It's really at no risk to you. So
yeah, just having a time.
Yeah, no worries
about it.
All righty. Well, I think this was an awesome. I'm sorry, Sarah. Did you have another?
No, I was just going to say, and onboarding all these different vendors is really quick. You open up LastPass, and then you have the Hubdoc, and then you go, oh, look, it has this. And then then you just watch it start feeding in, and, you know.
Can I squeeze one last question?
Go right ahead, Larry.
These password, these one-pass type password generators, where you have one password, one master password, and the password generator generates passwords for all your accounts. So what happens when you sign up with Hubdoc or your bank account or whatever? How does that work?
So as long as whatever kind of encryption key you were putting in was as long as we were reading it as the real password, think of our login as the same login to your bank. Like when I
but it's different every time you log in.
Right. So it's a good question. But the encryption key would be different, but it would be encrypting the same password and login, right? So it wouldn't. So, but how are you?
Key fob, what happens is, Larry, if this is what I think you're doing, we have one bank that has a little key fob, and it's changing every 30 seconds or something.
Okay, yeah,
so
I don't think
you get the login up, and then you get
that.
the number and you put it in real quick, and
So would that also be called like a token-based system?
Yeah, it's Citibank. Yeah. Like for us here at Citibank.
Yeah.
A couple of my clients have that, and they send me this little keypad thing that you press, and you get a different number, and it's good for 30 seconds.
Yeah,
if you don't have your little fob with you.
Yeah, it's something we love to support.
Turn it off. Those are features that your client is probably paying for.
But I can say that if your client, so say for example, you onboard a client and then the client ends up for some, for example, like M&T Bank here in Syracuse, they make you reset your password like every 180 days. So if the client went and did that and you didn't know it, and it would come up in Hubdoc and it would say Hubdoc had a problem fetching, you need to reconnect, and then you would have to reach out to your client and get the new password to reconnect it again.
Which is the same as QBO.
Yeah, but it does let you know. It does let you know if there's a syncing problem. So obviously it's going to be limited to the timing and the ability for resetting passwords and stuff. And if your client's just a pain in the butt and decides to change the password all the time, then you're going to have an issue with it.
And that's not Hubdoc's problem. You're going to be hunting them down for passwords.
Exactly.
So it would be nice, Matt, when we get those emails that say, it'll get a statement, it'll say, you have a new bill. And I go, not a bill, I don't know it. It's some verbiage.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. People have found little bits and things like that we definitely need to tend to.
I'm just used to it now. And
I just delete because I know it's going into Hubdoc. You
can manage those notifications as well, and you can turn off those notifications. One thing, we also have an email forwarding feature. So let's say, for instance, you wanted to get sent your client's bill as soon as it arrived, didn't want to have to log into Hubdoc, you can get that sent to your inbox if you wanted to, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I know this is all on our little wish list to block a bad email, because I think once the spam or something gets hold of your special
the
inbox,
unique email. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting thing.
I mean, it's easy enough to nuke, but that doesn't happen very often. Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Matt, for coming on. Very interesting demo. Loved it. You're going to get me some information about the workflow.
Absolutely.
We'll attach that to our description. So
awesome.
So, when we go on to get our, because I want to try Hubdoc. So when I go on to Hubdoc to sign on for the accountant's account, where it's free to us and our team members.
Yep.
How do they know that?
So just when you go to sign up, just indicate that you're an accountant or bookkeeper, and you'll be getting kind of personal email from me or one of my colleagues tonight or over the weekend.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Hey,
thank you,
no
Matt.
problem. It's been a pleasure, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a
Matt.
great weekend, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.